Welcome back to another episode featuring a conversation with my dear friend and automotive legend, Alex Roy. Brought to you by APiDA Online, this is Offtrack.
Recently, you have a couple of plane crashes.
It's all pilot error.
It's always pilot error.
It's 90% of crashes.
A lot of pilot error.
Is pilot error. One of my friends is going to school for to become a technician for the Aeromotive Industry. Is it? No, not the Aeromotive.
Aeromotive Industry is dominated by one company, Vector.
Yeah, that's the Aeromotive Industry. No, the aviation industry. So he tells me he has to watch a lot of these videos that are set in like the 70s, and it's kind of like these scare tactics of pilots are really dangerous, and 90% of all crashes are made by pilots, and it's kind of sobering to know that everything in the plane has 2 or 3 redundancies. You know, if one system fails, there's another system to back it up. But the pilot is kind of like, if he ignores all that.
Well, I mean, yesterday was a crazy story about the plane crash. Was it last month? Malaysia Air, not the disappearance, the other Malaysia Air crash. The pilots asked for permission to go to move above 34,000 feet.
Yeah, and they got denied.
And they got they were allowed to go 4,000 feet higher, which is approaching the ceiling of the aircraft's capabilities. And then they flew above that, allegedly. But apparently, and the black box showed, the pilots pulled the circuit breaker out of the fucking plane, deliberately disabling all the automation because the plane was not doing what they wanted. Now, there's a great article, I think it's William Languisha, about the Air France flight that went down over mid-Atlantic a couple of years ago.
Okay.
Because the pitot tubes got iced over, and the sensors, the aircraft was unable to. It moved out of parameter, and so there's different states of Airbus automation. And there's like normal law, and then alternate law, and then there's like pilots better know what they're doing.
Yeah.
And so all this automation is a bad thing, because, well, I think Airbus is probably operating somewhere. Actually, let me take that back. There's no doubt that certain levels of automation are bad. Like, how many people do you know could explain the difference between traction control and dynamic stability control and ABS? Or even explain what any one of them does, or explain what they will do in conjunction with each other.
Right.
Okay. Or what happens if if you brake in a turn on ice? Most people have no clue what to do on ice, even if they're driving themselves. All these automated cars are still going to have a steering wheel, because at the end of the day, if something goes wrong, the people are going to have to be able to drive. But as they drive less and less frequently, because they're in an automated car, their basic skills, which are at a low level in this country today, are going to go out the window. So imagine a scenario, I think it's very likely, just like on that Air France flight, where there's an automated car driving on ice, and it's slowing down, and the people are like, God damn it, I'm going to be late to work. And then on the dash is a button with like it's like a nuclear launch key. It's like, what the hell's going on? And my car's, I'm never going to get to work on time. Okay?
Just hit the button.
Yeah. It's like, bam, I'm taking over, and suddenly all the automation goes away.
Right.
You don't think that car's going to crash? That's like, you might as well just like, they might as well send a bank transfer to the mortician. The same. It's like,
so it's kind of like a muscle. If you don't use it, it's going to atrophy.
I was going to say, if you don't dip it in white wine and add Tabasco sauce, it won't be tasty. You know what would save more lives, be a lot cheaper? Increasing the standards of driver education in this country. Of course.
I mean, there's a reason why in Germany they have a road with no speed limit.
But Americans are lazy, so they are going to have automated cars before anyone else.
Which might be a good thing or a bad thing.
I mean, something that, you just gave us clarity in the debate over automated driving, because the first time some guy says, my wife and kids are safer in an automated car, but they're less safe because you're driving yourself, the guy who drives himself is going to say, really? Really? Look at how many people were killed when they turn off their automation. But therefore, claiming that's a strength, but actually defends automated driving. The whole thing.
You have to go around the psychology of a person who would use an automated car.
You know what I mean? We live in the golden age of cars now, because we live in an era where performance is cheap, cars have gotten really safe, and you can still drive yourself.
Okay.
So it's like everything you want, because we're going to start losing driving yourself, and performance cars are going to become. Performance has gotten cheap, but I think in the future, it's going to become really expensive again.
Let's put it into perspective. What 10 years ago had 700 horsepower?
Nothing.
There's
Vector.
a Vector had 700 horsepower. A car that did not exist. A car that existed only in the imaginations of its crazy owners. Okay. Now you can have a car that has 4 doors. It has traction control. Has an automatic transmission. It has heated seats and air conditioning, and you can lease it for $529 a month, and it has 707 horsepower.
Yeah, it's awesome.
It's not just awesome. That's insane.
Yeah, it's the golden age. You know, I don't understand why you can't. Like, I recently got asked by this French girl I know to give her driving lessons because she didn't have a driver's license. She said a lot of her friends didn't have a driver's license. Right. They're from Paris. So I said, well, yeah, you know, just go to driving school. She's like, can you teach me? So I had to rent a car and take her around the Brooklyn Navy Yard and Floyd Bennett Field and teach her to drive. And it occurred to me when I got to Floyd Bennett Field, which is an airfield, anyone who doesn't know, in Brooklyn, which is no longer an airfield. And when I got there must have been 50 people in SUVs at 7 o'clock in the morning on a Sunday, getting, lessons. Mostly women, which is odd, because where are those guys getting their lessons? Lessons by husbands or boyfriends in SUVs. Now, we're not talking about the SUV thing yet, but it occurred to me that is this really the best way to train drivers, and then send this person to go get a license? I mean, why isn't there a Starbucks of driving schools?
What do you mean?
Meaning, why isn't there a regional or national chain of driving schools which are, working together with insurance companies, and maybe, where maybe BMW, through some subsidiary, gets together and buys up 20 driving schools, throws in base model BMWs as the cars. You get a discount for graduating from that school, and so they're funneling customers into their own brands, and demonstrating the cars, and simultaneously teaching. I mean, I can't understand.
We're teaching like advanced driving.
No, even basic driving.
Okay.
Why? I mean, it just seems like why doesn't BMW buy one of these really crappy abandoned racetracks? Okay, put a little autocross course there and some cars for parallel parking practice and a cafe. Okay, and now you go, over 6 weekends, and you can learn, and you can get your license. It's insane to me that doesn't exist. It seems like a great market opportunity.
It would, but I know a little bit about the space because
talk to me.
I worked in a company that did motorcycle road tests. Okay, so I was around DMVs all the time, and the problem with DMVs is that every single DMV, even inside a state, they have different kind of rules and regulations. And when you introduce something new, like new legislation, that is almost impossible to. You're always going to have somebody that says, oh no, well I didn't hear about this, or this is new to me, or you can't do this, and it's just a complete headache. It's a liability nightmare, because what if somebody trashes a car, hurts themselves? You can get insurance for that, but to kind of have this as a national thing, or even just a statewide thing, it would have to be profitable, and I'm not sure it would be.
It's hard to believe those problems could not be resolved.
Oh yeah, no, those problems could definitely be resolved, but there's a giant elephant in the room, which is government kind of getting in between everything.
Okay, but there has to be a reason. You're right. I'm becoming very conservative as I listen to you speak about government getting in the way of that, because if there was an ad campaign for driving school, and the ad campaign went something like this: "Do you love your wife?" You don't think I'm gonna send my wife to that school? You better believe I will. Do you love your wife? Or it's like a picture of a baby. Do you love your child? You don't think that 200,000 people there would be a 90% conversion rate to sign up for that school.
Just over a Sarah McLachlan song or something, In the Arms of the Angels. And just pictures of like horrible car accidents. Like, you don't want this to be your wife, do you?
I mean, I really don't understand why every ad for every car manufacturer isn't basically, do you love your wife?
Just
and a picture of their car.
All right, that's enough for today, but what did you think? You can leave a comment down below to give us your view, or you can join us next time when we continue the conversation. Be sure to follow Alex on his YouTube channel, especially if you like some insightful commentary about some seriously cool cars. And you can check out APiDAonline.com for DIY guides, epic builds, and videos just like this updated daily. If you'd like to support APiDA Online, you can do so by clicking through the Amazon banner on our homepage. It costs you nothing, and it lets us keep making articles and videos like this for you for free. And on that note, always remember, life is just too short to drive boring cars.